A distinguished figure once said, "History is the best teacher, and a mirror or a lens." History is indeed a best teacher, and a mirror or a lens to explain the causality of historical events. Dear listeners, I would like to talk to you tonight about education on historical changes, about the education on historical of kingdoms in Nusantara and China's dynasties, about the past, present, and the future. Before I begin my talk, there's something important I want to say. As an Indonesian sinologist who study and do research about China studies, and also as an Indonesian diplomat for over 17 years, I'm grateful to have spent 9 years in China, not only to its megacities, but also to its secondary and tertiary cities. So, when you think of history, you will think of the way they have to fulfill their daily necessities at that period of age. And you will also think about the socio-cultural interactions amongst them at the kingdom and dynasty periods. Based on China's dynasty timetable, which is the period from 2070 BC up to 1911, the two most well-known dynasties are the Golden Age of Tang Dynasty from 581 up to 906. And also the very last Qing Dynasty from 1644 up to 1911. Based on Indonesia's Nusantara's kingdoms timetable, you have heard and read more about Sriwijaya and Majapahit kingdoms as the two most distinguished maritime kingdoms in Nusantara. You see, Nusantara does not only refer to Indonesia nowadays. It encompasses territories and waters that are larger than Indonesia today. Here's why. Indonesia inherited civilizations from 17 kingdoms in all over Nusantara. They are Kutai, Tarumanegara, Sriwijaya, Mataram, Medangkamulan, Kediri, Singosari, Majapahit, Pajajaran, Bali, Samudra Pasai, Aceh, Demak, Banten, Mataram, Makassar, and Ternate Tidore. Besides Sriwijaya and Majapahit, the other 15 are the agricultural kingdoms. We see the Nusantara's growth in its first maritime kingdoms, the Sriwijaya, which is from the period of 7th century up to 11th century. Sriwijaya itself upholded its spirit of light to victory, which comes from its name. Sri means light, and Wijaya means victory. Sriwijaya, the kingdom, is not only located strategically as a connector between the east and the west through the Malacca Strait, or as an access to trading route of very important commodities at that time, which are basically spices. But the kingdom is also equipped with economic maritime great power and naval fleet power. Sriwijaya was at the same time can produce ships within the length of 60 meters that can accommodate thousands of tons of commodities. So, in other words, Sriwijaya played a vital role in trading route, global trading route at that time within its territories. That includes Sumatra, Java, Malayan Peninsula, and East Kalimantan or Borneo. I repeat, Sumatra, Java, Malayan Peninsula, and Kalimantan or Borneo. Meanwhile, according to the study of O.W. Walters in his book entitled The Fall of Sriwijaya in Malay History, the territories of Sriwijaya, also including today's Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and the Philippines. Can you imagine? It was an association of Southeast Asian nations, or ASEAN, minus Laos and Myanmar. It was a tributary kingdom and has follower kings. I'd like to make a brief saying that make notes on this. It's basically the practice of where there is sovereignty, there is gold. Which means if you have sovereignty, then you have gold. But it also can be vice versa. On my notes clearly show that the ancient times of Nusantara has begun since the 4th century. Meanwhile, the China's dynasties has existed since 2000 years BC. The precedent China's policy opening up of the Silk Route has begun since the 550 BC. It is among the world's well-known civilizations up to now. So it's a historical changes. So how did China do it? The value of unimpeded or unblocked route triggered it, so that the merchants from Sui and Tang dynasty in the period of 518 up to 906 make the way, triggered it, and China began to have contacts with foreign messengers. According to China's teaching material on history for senior high school within the curriculum, it said that the riding horse from Sui dynasty from nowadays Guangzhou city of Guangdong province that was called as Nanhai Regency sailed into a kingdom of red soil, which refers to today's southern part of Malayan Peninsula. And then the king of red soil ordered his son to go back to China by riding a horse. So you see, if we talk about ancient civilizations, including China, we will think of massive connectivity. Tracing back to those two routes about silk and spice routes, the core is not about the commodities. It's not about the spice or the silk. It's about the value that were being inherited from the kingdoms in Nusantara and from China's dynasties. It's about the values of common effort to achieve common goal. In today's new universal values, we know it as peace and security, friendship, cooperation, as agreed by the United Nations in 1945 by their 5 permanent members, China, France, Russia, UK, and the United States. In this globalization era, in which 你中有我，我中有你, or interdependency exists, I'd like to let us consider and draw an inspiration from a thinker. His ideas, despite concerning his political views embedded within, and despite his government system, he delivered his ideas about, first,学经典，起未来。Second, 知福治国道，复始为始。And the third, 万物各得其和以生，各得其养以成。So Mandarin Chinese itself emphasizes on the verb rather than the noun, because the verb indicates the relationships. The verb is 学, to learn, 启, to enlighten, 治, to govern, and 富, to prosper. Mandarin Chinese also have context first, then followed by the subject. The contexts are, first, peace to grow, and the second, cultivate to develop. This figure spent over 22 years of his leadership service in 2 provinces of southern China that are robust in their economic growth. They are Zhejiang and Fujian provinces, and they make the history up to now that we call it Silk Road economic route. I'd like to close with a call for us. Let's think about it. Think about it together, creatively, and come up with a policy recommendation for the future. This might be a historical changes. This might be a way to provide inspirations and opportunities for regional and parts of the world. Thank you.